The American Dream Team win the Ryder Cup in style.
What a putt from Justin Leonard.
What a great claim from the Irish.
Their crowning moment. 12 strong team.
Welcome back to Marco Simone. We have just had the foursomes session this morning and a lot of blue on the board. Luke Donald will be absolutely delighted. The scoreline at the moment, 9.5, 2.5. Europe have dominated. Some brilliant performances from the likes of Rory McIlroy, Jon Rahm, Viktor Hovland. They have all risen to the occasion. It's been fantastic, and the crowds here, they've been cheering the whole time. I think some of them have actually lost their voices. And I am stood here overlooking the 13th tee. The 12th is to my right-hand side. This is the vista, one of the hot spots, a brilliant location to watch the golf. Just look at these views, simply magical. We're on the outskirts of Rome here in Italy, the Ryder Cup being staged in Italy for the first time. And I'll tell you what, the crowd behind me, I know they're having a good time. They might have been at the bar as well, but they've been singing. And here we go, see if this works. Off you go. Should we try it again? Well, you were great. Slightly better in rehearsal, but I give you an 8 out of 10. Are you having a good day? Are Europe going to win this tomorrow? Hello to all the Americans as well. We wish you some red on the board at some point. It has been a really tough day for the United States of America, and we've seen the biggest defeat in Ryder Cup history, 9-7. We'll speak more about that in just a moment. But as I alluded to, some brilliant play from the European side, and they came out here, they performed on the biggest stage in golf, and we've seen just golf at the highest level. Tyrrell Hatton was out today with Jon Rahm and fought the whole time. Birdie putt on 16 was super helpful. There's Tommy Fleetwood. His partner was Rory McIlroy. They were first out. A 2-1 victory over Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas. But Rahm, inspired by Seve Ballesteros, he's spoken about it for the last few days, just saying he really wants to rise to the occasion, and my goodness, he has done. Ludwig Aubert, the youngster, has proved his worth, but the celebrations, we will remember these pictures forever. Tommy Fleetwood hasn't dropped a point. Everyone getting the crowd going. We've seen that first tee, the atmosphere there, crowds from all over Europe, all over the world in fact, and also incredible support from the United States of America. This is a Ryder Cup that is going one way at the moment, a sea of blue, Azzurri blue for Italia and for Europe right now. The scoreline, it's a big deficit. It's 9.5, 2.5 at the moment. There is the leaderboard, the scores from this morning, and just to confirm, Rory McIlroy and Tommy Fleetwood, what a pairing they are becoming. Fleetwood Mac, we are nicknaming them, beating Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas. Eagles galore in that group. Hovland and Aubert overcoming Scheffler and Koepka. The scoreline 9-7. As I say, the biggest defeat in Ryder Cup history. Nobody wants to get beaten 9-7, and we're hearing reports of a very emotional Scotty Scheffler. Stracker and Lowry, they were defeated. The only point on the board for the Americans. Homer and Harmon winning that one 4-2, and in the final match, it was Jon Rahm and Tyrrell Hatton, 2-1 victory over Patrick Cantlay and Xander Schauffele. We saw Tyrrell Hatton birdie putt on 16, he really put the pressure on Xander Schauffele to get a putt that was downhill. It was about 10 feet. It wasn't easy. He missed it. They went on to 17. Jon Rahm did what Jon Rahm does, put it really close. A birdie for the Europeans and a 2-1 win. Right now, a little bit of respite. The next tee time for the four balls is at 12:25 today. I think Luke Donald will be smiling from ear to ear right now. Everything has gone according to plan so far. That first tee earlier, we had a big banner with Seve Ballesteros coming down, a huge banner, which definitely inspired. But I think we can have a quick look at that banner now, if that's possible, because I was there and I saw it. I saw also the coordination of everybody to get it down. It was teamwork, it was strategic, and it was brilliant. The Americans joined in as well, which was marvellous, and just a moment in sporting history to see that banner go down. Seve's so synonymous with the Ryder Cup. Formidable partnerships over the years with Jose Maria Olazabal, who is one of the vice captains this year. The vice captains have played a key role, the likes of Thomas Bjorn, Nick Colsaerts, Francesco Molinari and Edoardo Molinari, the two Italians who played in the Ryder Cup in 2010. Edoardo, of course, the stats man, the stats guru. During lockdown, he went to his computer, he figured out where to get the edge on the golf course, and the DP World Tour have been working with him, the Ryder Cup have been working with him, and he's definitely proved his worth. Bravissimo to Edoardo and to Francesco. So much support. I saw all the wives this morning on the first tee. They're going around with their respective husbands cheering. Just heard from Kate Rose. She'll be out this afternoon supporting Justin Rose if he is out on the course, if he's been chosen by Lou. But the celebrations, pictures speak for themselves. And I mentioned Justin Rose, actually. I caught up with his mother, Annie, in hospitality. I was allowed in for 5 minutes, and Annie was over the moon. She was there on 18 when Justin holed that putt yesterday to get that half point. You saw what it means to him, and she had tears in her eyes when I spoke to her. She'll be going around this afternoon, because just a sneak hint that Justin Rose is playing with Bob MacIntyre. Third out, they're up against Justin Thomas and Jordan Spieth. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit of a breath because I'm getting far too excited about the afternoon four balls. Let's head out onto the course and join Adam, find out where he is. Over to you, Adam.
Well, let's get some American reaction to another tough day so far for Team USA here at the Ryder Cup. Delighted to say I'm joined on the range by Dan Rappaport from Barstool Sports. Dan, we've got the players warming up for the afternoon four balls behind us. What do you make of it so far? America just not able to find any momentum.
None at all. You know, the Mike Tyson quote from way back when, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. That's what comes to mind. This has been back-to-back-to-back uppercuts right to the chin. You know, they needed to win the session this morning, at least scratch out a draw to feel like they have some momentum going into four balls. And it looked like there was a chance there. But look, the Europeans have just played much better in those high leverage moments where matches are decided. I think to Rahm's tee shot on the 17th hole, it's like 200 yards, he puts it to this far. They've had that magic, that inspiration, and the Americans have been completely flat all week.
I know, obviously, this is coming into the Ryder Cup this year. This was such a strong Team USA team, given what had happened last time at Whistling Straits. People were wondering, is this going to be the first, you know, everyone mentioning that 30-year stat, is this going to be the time they finally do it in Europe? But no one really expected this kind of performance. Where did it come from? Do you have any kind of explanation as to why they performed so badly so far?
You don't want to make any sort of excuse. I mean, Zach Johnson did say yesterday at his press conference that there's some sort of bug going through the team. It's hard to have a bug with this kind of weather. I don't know. I guess it's a pretty strong bug. But no, I mean, I think it feels eerily similar to Whistling Straits, but on the other end, where the Europeans have the youthful energy. There's been a turning of the page generationally that had to happen eventually. That, you know, the Poulters, the Stensons, the Garcias, they were always going to move on, and Europe needed the young guys to come in and backfill that. It's exactly what's happened, guys. I mean, Ludwig Aberg was playing in the NCAA championship 4 months ago, and he just beat Scotty Scheffler and Brooks Koepka 9-7. I mean, they've had this elevation of guys like that, and then Victor Hovland's taken his game to the next level, and Matt Fitzpatrick has taken his game to the next level. So it just feels like now there's sort of generation against generation, but the European side is the one who feels like they have the juice and the momentum.
It also seems that, I mean, you mentioned Aberg and Hovland, they're a great example. Luke Donald has found pairings that have clicked straight away. Zach Johnson has found pairings that haven't clicked straight away at all.
Yeah, you know, that's one thing that I think will be discussed a lot throughout the kind of post-mortem is how are the pairings made? Because the Europeans with Eduardo Molinari have really leaned into the statistics. It seems from the outside like the Americans have almost said, who do you guys want to play with? And those two have played together. So you could see that he's going with this afternoon floorball session. It's almost like he's throwing darts at a board or picking names out of a hat. They're all new pairings except for Thomas and Spieth. He's trying things now. You can tell that it reeks a little bit of desperation. When you're down 9.5 to 2.5 going into Saturday afternoon, you're going to be desperate.
And also we saw how frustrating it was for some of the Team USA players. I mean, those shots of Scotty Scheffler almost weeping after his match with Brooks Koepka. So disappointed that the way he played. You know, he's expecting so much out of himself. All of the fans here, you know, they're picking Scotty. They love watching him. But they just seem to have been hampered by something here so far.
Well, they started double bogey, bogey, double bogey. They were 5 over through 3 holes. So I think you and I might have had a chance. Yeah, you know, they were 7 over through 11. That was generous. It probably would have been more like 9 or 10 over if they had been forced to putt everything out. We can discuss Zach Johnson's selections and the pairings until the cows come home. But when you have the world number 1 and a 5-time major winner shooting 10 over par or whatever it was through 11 holes in alternate shot, I mean, what can he really do? He can't go out there and hit a shot. He can't go out there and hit a putt. So he can say all the right things. If they come out and play poorly, this can happen. And that's what the Europeans said about Patrick Harrington at Whistling Straits. He did what he could, but at the end of the day, we got beat. And right now, the U.S. is getting beat really badly.
Yeah, 9.5, 2.5, that
Yes.
scoreline. At this point, as Sam Burns just walks behind us, he's heading towards the first tee for his match. Do you see any route to a U.S. victory?
No, not to a victory. I think at this point you're in damage control. I think back to Whistling Straits and the U.S. You know, some point on Saturday kind of flipped their goals from simply winning to embarrassing the other team. They wanted 20 points. I think the U.S. would do well to get to 10 or 11 right now and kind of keep the final score respectable, because this is on the verge of spiraling out of control and becoming one of those like watershed moments in Ryder Cup history. I think it's interesting that, you know, if this continues this way, it'll be 3 straight Ryder Cups where the home team has won big. So it just speaks to the advantage of the home course and the home fans. And as you can tell, I'm a little bit lost for words.
Yeah.
Like this is a shellacking that I don't think any of us saw coming.
Yeah, and both of us have been out there following the groups, and there is such a buzz amongst the European fans. Pretty easy when you're winning like that.
Yeah, I mean, you're in Italy. I don't think I've seen a cloud since I've been here this whole week. I mean, you know, the vino's flowing, everyone's having a good time. If putts are falling, I would be happy too.
Let's just step out of the way so cameraman Tim can push in on some of the players that are warming up on the practice range behind us, and we can talk about some of the groupings. Just nearest to us here is Ricky Fowler, who is one of those players who we think has been perhaps struggling with an illness throughout. He is here practicing, but he is not taking part. You know, high fives and fist bumps for Colin Morikawa, who is playing in that first match with Sam Burns against Victor Hovland and Ludwig Aberg, really the stud pairing from Team Europe. They're heading over the bridge to the first tee. They'll be teeing off in about 10 minutes' time, 12:25 local here in Rome. They will be getting underway. But a word on Ricky Fowler. He's obviously well enough to be out here on the range. He'll be playing singles tomorrow. But we think he's one of those players who's been struggling with that illness.
Well, if you just saw that little dap up there, Colin went in with the open hand and Ricky went in with the closed fist, which if we all remember from COVID was kind of what you were recommended to do. So it would seem that way. I think it is a little encouraging that he's out here at all, but I don't think the plan was to sit him all day unless he wasn't feeling well enough. So yeah, it's unfortunate timing, but look, every team has things they have to deal with. That's part of sport. I don't think that's the reason why it's 9.5 to 2.5. It's, the Americans have had chances. You think back to yesterday afternoon, it was very close to being 5-3 if they hold on to those late leads. Instead, it's 6.5 to 1.5. So there's been those big moments, those high leverage moments, and the Europeans have simply performed much, much better when they've had to.
One of the few bright spots for the Americans here on day 2 is the player closest to us now, the lefty, Brian Harman, partnering with Max Homa for a victory earlier on against Sepp Straka, and Shane Lowry getting his own back there in that match, and he goes out again a little bit later there. The second match, game 2, 12:40 against Tommy Fleetwood and Nikolai Højgaard. It was great to see some fight from Brian Harman. He's a tough, gritty character, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a Georgia Bulldog. They fight. Yeah, I thought him and Max both played really nicely this morning, and that's hard to do, right? When you come out and you're getting crushed and you see all the blue on the board, you see 9 and 7 out there early to keep your focus and to play as well as they did. And Brian Harman, his whole wife, has been underestimated. I think back to the Open Championship this year, and everyone was rooting for Tommy, everyone was rooting for Rory. He was kind of the last guy that everyone wanted to win, and I think he kind of relished that opportunity to shut people up. And the word early in the week was that he was hitting it the best, so not surprised at all to see him sort of carrying his weight thus far this week.
Just finally, last one before we let you go, Dan. A little bit further away, we're seeing Victor Hovland piping drives all the way down the driving range, almost to the end of it. I mean, he has arguably been Team Europe's player of the Ryder Cup so far, hasn't he? He's been brilliant.
He's been the finest player in the world over the last 3 months. You know, I think the dramatic improvement in his short game, it's not just that he's elevated it from being a weakness to sort of average, it's a strength right now. And I think too, the very first chip he hit on the first hole on Friday morning, chipping it off the green and holding it, really sent a message to the USA.
Okay, let's watch Victor as he heads over the bridge to the first tee to partner up once again with Ludwig Aberg for that first match against Sam Burns and Colin Morikawa in the afternoon 4 balls. It's set to be another thriller, and Europe are very much the favourites. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you very much, Adam. Really great to hear from you at the range and what is going down there and what players are up to. They'll grab a quick bit of lunch and head back out onto the course if they have been picked by Luke Donald. You spoke about Hovland and Aubert being partnered together again. They are off in about the time right now. I'm looking at a clock, is 12:24, so they are off in a minute's time. This is the Vista here, and it's called the Vista for a reason because the views are absolutely spectacular. You can see a lot of the golf course here at Marco Simone outside of Rome. The 13th tee is just below me, which is just a flick on with a wedge really for these guys. 150 yards has proved challenging, a 2-tier green. I've got the second to my left-hand side, a par 5 down the hill, over 550 yards it is to my right as well. The 12th hole, I was about to say just before the 13th, that's quite obvious, isn't it? A really challenging hole, that one, par 5. And the guys here, they plotted their way round. They came here 2 years ago. Yeah, you can see what I'm talking about. They came here a couple of weeks ago, and the teams were bonding, they were finding their feet, finding the ins and outs of this golf course. And Luke Donald has got the upper hand, as we say, as his team have stormed into the lead, 9.5, 2.5. Let's have a look at the pairings right now and who is playing with who this afternoon. I spoke about Hovland and Aubert, who are paired together again. The 23-year-old Aubert, I mean, it's such a brilliant story. He turned pro in June, didn't he? And he's won on the European Tour against Sam Burns. He's back in the fold. He played the foursomes, didn't he? On yesterday with Colin Morikawa. Then it's Fleetwood and Højgaard, new pairing against Max Homa and Harman, who won this morning. They are staying together. Justin Rose and Bob MacIntyre are staying together there against Justin Thomas and Jordan Spieth. Zach Johnson has decided to keep them together, keep that pairing going. They have had success in the past. What will they produce? They've just come off the back of a loss. Matt Fitzpatrick and Rory McIlroy again take up the rear end, the tail end, up against Patrick Cantlay and Wyndham Clark, a new pairing for the American side. Still overwhelmed by Matt Fitzpatrick's performance yesterday. Just sublime on that front 9, birdie, threw in an eagle as well, and Rory was all smiles, and he's out again with Rory McIlroy. Bob MacIntyre, as the Scotsman, he did struggle yesterday playing with Justin Rose. Rosie, he was able to get back 3 holes on that back 9 and kept them in it. And then, that, as I've spoken about, his birdie putt on 18 was brilliant and got that half point. I think every half point is just so crucial. It swings momentum, it shifts things considerably. He knew what it meant to the European side. Bob was by his side. He will have learnt so much. He knows this golf course, though. Literally a couple of years ago, he won the Italian Open here. So he can find his way around. This is a different amphitheatre. It's the Ryder Cup. You feel things this week that you've never felt before. We've just seen the world number 1, Scotty Scheffler, beaten 9 and 7. He's absolutely distraught, which of course he will be. He's never experienced anything like this. Good record in 2021, but this time not to be for Scotty Scheffler, and he's not playing this afternoon. That's a big story, the fact that Zach Johnson has decided not to pick him. I go back to Bob MacIntyre playing in that third group with Justin Rose today, and he's been sensational on the DP World Tour this season. Let's find out a little bit more about Bob's journey and how he's done so far this week.
Now we're talking. For me, it's finally happening. I mean, it's been a dream come true, really. There's nothing more satisfying than seeing the kit and finally getting here. It's good to have my chance of making that team, and it's my only goal for the next year, so come September, when it'll mean everything. Colour and everything's nice, material's comfortable, hopefully the same size come September, but Christmas time's coming, so who knows. You know, when you're trying on this stuff in Dubai, you're like, ah, well, it could be, but it's a bit more special when you're here, knowing that you're going to be part of that team. It's extra special. To wear the Ryder Cup uniform, it's the most special feeling in golf for a European. I'm not built for the skin tight. That's why we play golf. Obviously got the Ryder Cup Europe badge on the chest, so it's everything. Finally here. Looks brilliant. You even got your initials on them. Even got the Ryder Cup on them socks from Scotland, so I quite like the waterproof top. Pretty cool that. I don't think we'll need it this week, but I'm sure walking the dog back home in Oban we'll put that to good use. Put on the colours to put on the kit, it's just going to be the next step. Lovely stuff.
And as if by magic, here is Bob MacIntyre at the range in one of those very outfits that he was talking about there, with a rather interesting training aid that he's got around his neck, that black soft ball that he's using to keep between his elbows, I suppose, to focus on the distance between his forearms when he's hitting those three woods here on the range. The lefty, he's been here for a little while now, just getting ready for his match this afternoon, again with Justin Rose, who he partnered yesterday to that crucial half point for the Europeans in the afternoon four balls yesterday. The magic from Justin Rose. MacIntyre had a front row seat for that big putt on the 18th hole and was celebrating along with Rose, who's practicing right next to him. He's about 5 yards away to his right. MacIntyre, they're on in game 3 at 12:55 local time, so about 25 minutes till they tee off against Justin Thomas and Jordan Spieth in that third game. As I mentioned, Justin Rose is there to the right of him. Team Europe is right down at this left-hand end of the range. Matt Fitzpatrick's here as well, plus all of the coaching staff and the caddies. There's Fooch, the caddy of Justin Rose, who's watching him, and then Matt Fitzpatrick, watched on by Billy Foster, who's been his caddy for a little while. Foster, of course, caddied in so many Ryder Cups for a whole host of great names down the years. Such an experienced player, Fitzpatrick, who is playing in that final match again in the four balls this afternoon. 110 local time, game 4, with Rory McIlroy against Patrick Cantlay and Wyndham Clark. So that's the European end of the range. If Tim and I can just take a little wander down to the other end, there is quite a distance actually between the two teams. It's what we've seen over the last couple of days so far. They tend to keep to a section each, perhaps trying to keep the tactics, I suppose, away from each other maybe, and just stay in their team groups. So we'll just wander down to the other end of the range. It's the little gallery, the viewing gallery away to the right of the range is getting pretty busy now. The fans, both US and Europeans, here to watch the players practicing and getting ready for their matches. So Tim can just pan around to show the American players down here. When we were chatting to Dan, Ricky Fowler was still here. Yeah, he's just about to leave, but we've got Justin Thomas, who is going out third against Rose and MacIntyre. Here he is working on his irons after that match this morning. A tough loss for him. He battled hard alongside his good friend Jordan Spieth, but losing 2 and 1 to Rory McIlroy and Tommy Fleetwood in the end. He's doing a little drill with the alignment sticks there. His father just in the background, and then his caddy Bones, vastly experienced caddy again, who's watching along. And then down to the right of him, the next player there is Jordan Spieth, who is partnering Justin Thomas again, and Spieth with his caddy Michael Greller. Spieth and Thomas, both of them using launch monitors, that little machine that you can see down to the right of where they're hitting the balls from, that's measuring all of the ball speed, the spin, trajectory, the distance, just to get them all dialed in before they go out for their matches. Thomas and his father just looking at the numbers on the mobile phone there. And just finally, before we let you go, we'll head down a little bit further, right to the end of the driving range, where we were earlier on this morning, having a look at Rory McIlroy's practice balls. I didn't manage to take one. A few people asked me that. Left them all there for Rory, and Wyndham Clark is there, just working on his irons as well, and he is playing alongside Patrick Cantlay, another new partnership against McIlroy and Fitzpatrick. That last match, 110 in game 4. So that's the picture here on the range, as Dan alluded to. The weather absolutely perfect once again, very warm, about 30 degrees Celsius here in Rome, and the players are going to be looking forward to some interesting afternoon 4 balls, I'm sure, with all the work to do for the Americans here at Marco Simone.
Thanks very much, Adam. It really is set up to be a fabulous afternoon. The first match has teed off, and the first is directly behind me. I can hear some of the cheers for Victor Hovland and Ludwig Aubert, who are playing together. Again, they played together this morning. It's been, as I say, a really quick turnaround for them. They're up against Sam Burns, who's playing in his second match, and Colin Morikawa, the Open champion. Support has been sensational, and the atmosphere it's just brilliant. The score 9.5, 2.5 right now. Can the USA gain some points this afternoon? There are 4 points available, and don't forget there are 12 points available tomorrow in the all-important singles matches. But as it stands right now, Europe just need 5 points to win the Ryder Cup 2023. Can they do it? They've got to keep focused though, because momentum shifts and it changes really quickly. We saw that yesterday afternoon. We saw it today as well. Matches can swing super quick. But right now Europe have all the momentum, and the singing, the chanting. The Guardians of the Ryder Cup, they're out there. People have come in fancy dress, dressed up to the nines. I'm wondering if some of them are thinking they've made a mistake by wearing a lot of felt and a lot of hot material. I think probably right now they're thinking, I wish I'd put my shorts on my t-shirt. But you know, it's superb, because when the teams see these guys all dressed up in the galleries around the greens, it really does help, because the crowd is the 13th man here in Rome and always has been. Look at this Mexican wave, it's fab. I'm glad they've all got that coordination. Sometimes it breaks down in the middle of the Mexican wave, but they keep going, they're doing it so well. And we've got blue and yellow beanbags all over the place, just in case you need a bit of a rest. But there's no resting for so many of these fans who want to see every golf shot that they can. They've travelled from all over despite the sun. They put the sun cream on, put their hats on, and they've got their walking shoes on. Lots of trainers around this golf course. It's not an easy walk, but they're enjoying it, enjoying the sunshine here. And it doesn't really get any better, does it, when you see so much blue on the board? So congrats Team Europe so far, but it's still a lot to play for. 4 points this afternoon, 12 tomorrow. We've got the 4 balls. They teed off the first group, the second group on that first tee right now. It's all set up for a brilliant afternoon. We hope you've enjoyed all the golf this morning, and we'll be back for a wrap-up show at the end of play today. So we look forward to that. What can the United States do? Can they bounce back? Can they bite back? What will Zach Johnson have said to them in the team room? What will Luke Donald have said to his side, who lead at the moment by 7 points? From us here on the Vista, we're going to lap up these rays of sun, and we will see you later on for our evening show. Good evening.